Adept Doctor, that's the killer we're going with today, and that is a killer who has 3 perks that literally make each other worse. So, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to possibly get a merciless victory? I'm going to show you guys how. So before we hop into any actual gameplay, I want to go through the actual power that Doctor has and how we're going to leverage it during the game and why it is so good. So this is not an in-depth guide on how to play Doctor, but we are going to talk about this specifically so you know what you're doing, because you don't have a lot of resources when you're not bringing in certain perks. So we need to understand the core of the killer to be able to actually take advantage of what he can do. The Doctor can shock people in 2 different ways. One is a easy off cooldown all the time shock that shocks directly in front of him, and that will, if it hits a survivor, increase their madness. As their madness tiers up, it puts different effects on them, and those will be changed based off of the add-ons that we bring in. And the other way that he can shock people is a massive shock that will let you know where people are, as well as tiering up that madness, which, like we talked about, that's going to apply a bunch of different effects. The reason that these effects are important is that that's going to slow down the game a lot. You're not bringing in like Ruin or anything like that for gen slowdown. You do have Overcharge, but that's not super effective at slowing down gen progress when survivors are trying to gen rush you. And you need to get this merciless win, so it can't be from camping. It needs to be from getting a ton of hooks, a ton of really good chases, and slowing down the gens. The 3 perks that we're allowed to bring in on Doctor are Monitor and Abuse, Overcharge, and Overwhelming Presence. So, first off, Monitor and Abuse is a perk that is actually pretty good, and I like to run this a lot on killers when I find it in the Blood Web and I don't really have a full build on them. It's not that great on stealth killers who already have things to keep themselves hidden, but it's pretty nice because it allows you to get closer to a survivor before they realize that you're coming, unless they're running a detection perk of their own, kind of like Spine Chill. Overcharge is the closest thing that we have to gen slowdown. Every time you smack a gen, it's going to make a really hard skill check pop up, and normally that's not that great because good survivors are just going to hit that skill check every single time. Since we can't really do combinations like bringing Huntress Lullaby that make doing a skill check harder or more punishing, we're going to have to rely on something else, and that's the Doctor's power. One of the effects that the Doctor's power can do is actually make the skill checks harder by making it appear in corners of the screen or going backwards. And that synergizes really well with Overcharge because it'll make people who normally hit all of their skill checks actually miss this, and it'll add that extra 5% gen regression just from smacking a gen. Now, I mentioned that the perks don't really work well together, and that's because Overwhelming Presence is based off of your terror radius. It reduces the amount of charges that somebody is going to be able to use on their active item by making them consume faster if they use that item while they're in your terror radius. Now, Monitor and Abuse is a perk that reduces your terror radius when you aren't in a chase. If you're not in a chase, that's great because you can get close, like I was talking about earlier. It lets you get a faster hit, a shorter chase. Those are really good things. But when you're not in a chase, that's probably when people are going to use their items. So you're going to have a small terror radius, which means you're going to be less effective at making their items be used up faster with Overwhelming Presence. These 2 perks literally counter each other. And a big thing I like to do on certain killers is make sure that I have something for gen slowdown and I have something for detection to find out where the survivors are so I can pay attention to, okay, what decision should I be making? Are they all across the map so it's a good idea to smack this gen? Or are they going to be close enough that somebody else is going to come tap it even if I start a chase with this person? So it's going to be more worth it for me to go into this chase faster and get more distance, closing that gap on the survivor versus touching a gen really quickly. So while we aren't bringing in any perks that are going to help us get that level of awareness to know where every survivor is, the Doctor is actually pretty good straight out of the box at figuring out where people are, and that's because of his power. The madness, as it tiers up, it makes it harder to do skill checks, and when people miss these skill checks, it's going to give you a notification of them missing it, whether that's from healing, whether that's from working on a generator. They're going to miss things eventually, and when they do, you're going to know where at least one survivor is. Another thing that's really good about the Doctor's power is you can bring some add-ons that make it so that illusionary doctors appear. Now, these are doctors that, to them, it's not that impactful. They might think like, oh my gosh, the Doctor is standing there looking at me, but not too many people are going to fall for that because, I mean, you're not chasing. But the big thing that the illusionary doctors do is that the Doctor himself can see these illusionary doctors through the wall. So it's basically a notification similar to the sound notifications when someone misses a skill check that can be seen across the map. But not only can you tell that there's somebody in that area, you're going to be able to see which direction it's looking because they always spawn facing wherever the survivor was at the time that they spawned. So that's going to let you know, are they on a gen? Are they just nearby? Where are they heading? You're kind of able to get a lot more information from this, as well as it could spawn in a close situation. It can tell you, are they hiding around this corner? It can tell you, are they hiding in a locker? Because that's right, here's something that survivors don't often know, is that the illusionary doctors can give away your location to the Doctor if you were hiding in a locker. So the next thing that we're going to talk about that we are allowed to bring in are these add-ons, and the add-ons really change the way that you play the game. The 2 that we're going to bring in, believe it or not, are going to be the Iridescent King and the Iridescent Queen. These two are the ultra rares. Not every killer has their ultra rares as their best, or sometimes you want to bring a couple things that synergize well together, but the Doctor, these two, perfect. Like, they synergize together extremely, extremely well. So what makes the King really good is that it adds on all of these different effects I've been talking about. The things that give you like an illusionary doctor that you can see across the map of where is somebody. It'll add your terror radius at random times so that they don't know when you're actually coming to chase them. They might have a red stain behind them during a chase, but it's not coming from you, it's just always on them so that they can't tell when you're running around corners and when you aren't. And there are a few other effects, but really the big goal is slow down the survivor's ability to complete the game, complete gens. So the second add-on we're bringing is Iridescent Queen. This goes really well with Iridescent King because you need to actually shock people and get them to level up to get those really cool effects that are going to help you slow down the game. The Queen helps you get those stacks on people because once you shock them once, as long as they aren't standing extremely close to another survivor, you're going to be able to have it so that the next survivor that they get close to, both of those survivors will get shocked and they will increase their badness for free. It's like a 2-for-1 special every time you shock somebody. So I do want to note here real quick that there are two other really good add-ons that you could bring if you don't have Iridescent Queen or Iridescent King. So Calm is a really, really good one because it synergizes well with Monitor and Abuse. You're already reducing your terror radius, and if you just spam your Static Blast, that's the really big one, then it's going to decrease your terror radius even more. And then during a chase, you might not be using Static Blast, so that goes really, really well with Overwhelming Presence. So it synergizes well with a couple of perks you are able to bring in. Also, Restraint is a really good one to bring in because that is the thing that's going to let you see the illusionary doctors through the walls, and that's amazing. Like I said, you want to have that type of awareness of where the survivors at what time, where are they hiding. This is incredibly good, especially if you're trying to get a merciless game and not let the last person get away. Last thing before we hop into the game, let's talk about the offerings really quickly, because there's two that I think are really, really good, a couple that I think are okay, and then one that I don't think you should bring if you're going to follow this guide. Starting off, obviously, Moris are always going to be at least valuable in some way. It lets you dodge the last hook that you might be putting a survivor on, and that can be extremely valuable if the enemy team is running Decisive Strike. If you know somebody has that, if you know that they want to stop you from getting to the last hook, toolboxes, flashlights, anything like that, Moris are going to give you some value. It blocks out that last hook. It doesn't give them the option to try to contest it. The second offering, Black Ward, is going to be helpful because it's going to make it so you have extra tries with these iridescent add-ons if you don't really have stockpiles of them. But it doesn't help you in the actual game you're in, so it just kind of gets a medium rating for me of it's useful, but nothing too special. Cut Coin, I think, is really similar of it's okay. It reduces the number of chests, but, you know, hopefully they're not going into as many chests anyways to get items. They probably brought in stuff to start with, so it's useful, but nothing special. Talk about the offering that you should not bring in. Shroud of Separation is normally pretty good because it stops survivors from spawning together and just rushing down a gen before you get to do anything, before you can do any counterplay. The thing is, you want to shock as many people as possible. If they start the game together and you get to begin the game by getting a 4-person shock, better yet, if you get close enough that you start the shock and they get off the gen so they aren't next to each other, you get a 4-person shock with the Iridescent Queen still proccing so that they're all going to shock each other for 8 total shocks just off of your first Static Blast. That is a dream come true. You don't want to get rid of that possibility by bringing in the Shroud of Separation. And then you can run over there and you can smack that gen for overcharge and just really build up your tempo really fast into the game. Tempo is going to be the name of the game with the Doctor, and Shroud of Separation, while it is normally good because it slows down the survivor's tempo, it also slows down your own, kind of notably more than it's going to affect the survivors. That is exclusively a Doctor tip, by the way. I do not recommend that same tip on anyone else except maybe Legion. And finally, to the two very useful offerings that I actually recommend that you bring in. Putrid Oak, really solid. It reduces the amount of time that you're going to take running to your average hook. They're not going to be able to contest you as well as you're trying to run over there. So, you know, it's always going to be valuable in some way. You might as well bring it in if you have that and you don't have this other offering. Listen, if you have a jigsaw piece, you're smooth sailing. Like, that is the best map for the Doctor, no questions asked. It is 2 levels stacked on top of each other, so it's a small area. Your Static Blast is going to hit a huge number of people every time you use it. Chases are short, it's super pallet dependent, and Doctor's really good at shocking people to stop them from vaulting the pallets, as well as just getting more levels of shock on them. Jigsaw piece is what you want to bring. Also super good with Monitor and Abuse and Overwhelming Presence. So I'm going to recommend that. These are all the things that you need to do to set yourself up for the game. Let's actually hop into it, and again, you'll watch me go for tempo, and you can see, okay, how much did my words that I said beforehand actually impact the gameplay? Alright, so here we go loading in. First thing I want to do is I want to try to figure out Okay, where could the survivors have spawned? So I know they're not going to be super close, so nobody's going to be on this close generator. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run around this and try to get to the next one. Somebody could have spawned in this general area. And then we're just patrolling gens. Trying to find somebody as soon as possible. My dude. I thought I got the pull off there, didn't quite, but this person did not run out. Interesting. Okay, so we'll smack the gen because we do have a little bit of time here. That's a nice way to start the game. Definitely not mad about that. We are at basement, so if nobody's in the area and they don't look to be, we're going to get a basement hook to start the game out, and that's really going to help us. Again, tempo, really important. Getting somebody down here is going to take some extra time from the survivors. We want to go use a static blast. So, let's get back upstairs, a little bit more towards the center of the map. Try to find some stairs, maybe? And we will drop that big shot, get an idea of where we need to go to. Got somebody upstairs there. And we need to find a set of stairs to actually get up. That is one of the bigger challenges on this map. Sounds like a couple of people in this room as well, so we'll break through this wall. So we can run in. Get that hit on the David. David's running down, so we're gonna pressure that out. We know that he is probably gonna be running dead hard, because most Davids run dead hard. So if he drops pallet, that is fine. Could have gone for a shot there. I didn't think about doing that. They just got their save. Confused David a little bit. He didn't try to dead hard for it. That is okay. And we'll go for another basement hook. Now we do know some people are in the area, so they could be looking for the pallet. Makes sense. So we're not going to go for the basement hook. Nice that we baited out one of the god pallets, and we know that there is a David in the area as well. So figuring out where he is next priority. Oh, he didn't drop that either. Let's go for the shock. Get that shock on him, and now he shouldn't be able to vault back over in time to avoid another shock. Getting his madness tiered up while we're still in this area. And he drops pallet again, getting these illusionary pallets up too. He's going over for the save. We'll drop another shock on him. He can't get that. Doesn't know that's a fake pallet, but since we have Iridescent King, that is one of the things that's being added on here. Go ahead and let him drop that. No reason to shock him too much more. We want to get him to tier 3 so that he isn't able to interact with anything. We'll go ahead and smack this gen and get it regressing. I don't think anybody's in the area to be able to tap it. And we want to make sure that they don't just push the gens down. Alright, this is probably going to be a 3-person shock, so we're going to use it. Not just for information, but to really get those shocks on people. Alright, we hear the injured David, but we're going to go after the Nancy instead. There's the David again. So we'll rotate back to him. Or we could find all 3. Cool, cool. There's the dead hard from that David. Shock so they can't drop pallet. Nancy's going to want to drop this. Really? Okay. She wanted to stop the pickup, but got a little bit too greedy with that by not stopping me from hitting herself down. Let's go ahead and get this hook over here by this generator that we don't want them to do. We want that to keep on regressing. And we can go get the Nancy as well, put her on hook. And we have a pallet to break at the center of the map. Static Blast isn't back up yet, but it is pretty close. We have a lot of pallets broken in this area of the map, so that's a good place to go. It's the fundamentals of killers that you really need to get down if you're going to want to do it adept. Head back this way, try to get the person who went for the previous unhook. Hit him with a shock. Find out if we should run right or left. Somebody's upstairs. That is fine. Here's our David. He drops another pallet. All good for us. Now, you can tell they've gotten 3 gens done. That's quite a lot of work, and I think that they have somebody else who's just out on the gens working them right now. Really not good for us. But we've got a lot of pallets out in the bottom half of the map. Might be worth going in this area. They're running to a corner where we already know that we've broken the pallets. Basement. Okay, free basement hook. And there's the illusionary doctor I was talking about that gives us the information of, hey, where are they at right now? There's the Nancy. Let's go ahead and grab her. She just got off hook, so there is a chance I get decisive strike here. Throw her on the hook. And we'll head back upstairs. Make sure that they aren't pressuring too many gens. There's the Fang. We're about to have 2 in the basement. That'll make it hard for them to get them out. Ooh, and they already go for the unhook. Everybody's injured here, so whoever walks up the stairs is going to get smacked. Or they just don't walk up the stairs. That's fine, too. We're going to chase upstairs. Watch for the dead hard. I think he just used it. Go ahead and get that smack. Now, in a regular game, you go and you hit these 2 people. No doubt. No questions asked. In this game, not as sure about it because you want them to be able to be alive to get the unhooks. As weird as it sounds, you want to get as many people unhooked as possible. Because if somebody doesn't get an unhook, then you are not getting your value that you need. I hear somebody nearby. That's what I thought. Watch for the dead hard. Interesting dead hard. I'm assuming that's why it missed. Don't know why else it will. And we'll take a person down to the basement again. Get another hook that way. We're no longer concerned. They have 2 gens left. They have 3 people, but these people are just getting shocked non-stop. Their tempo is way too slow because they're stopping themselves from getting madness tiered up. The Nancy right now is level 3, so she literally can't interact with the generator if she wanted to. I'm seeing both of the doctors are over here, so that means we want to get over to this side of the map. As well as, obviously, there's some screaming going on right now. Go ahead, knock down the Fang. I don't know how I hit the Nancy, but sure, we'll get the Nancy instead. And go ahead on over for the hook. I'm going to pretend that I didn't see the Fang. The only reason I'm doing this is so that she feels confident enough to go for that save in the basement. I need her to get more unhooks, because I'm going to get punished that I won the game this hard. Yeah, I could really, really appreciate her going for that save. There is, of course, the chance that she just wants hatch. Go for the shot, get some info. I don't think she's... I think she might be playing for hatch here. Could be a hatch gamer right now. So, I took a bit of a risk there. And it might not pay off. It could actually cost me the Merciless. But I didn't think that I had quite enough without getting more hooks. Thought I needed some more hooks. So we're going to run along the bottom here. We knew what area she wasn't in. So we're going to check the other area first that she could be in. Running a rough loop around the bottom of the map because the hatch will spawn downstairs. Looks like it might be in this last area that we're checking. As unfortunate that is for us. Or not. Well, we know where the Fang is. Rough area. We're gonna go on ahead and chase her down. See where she ran off to. She's covering a lot of distance downstairs right now, and that's not good for me. She went back up. And we'll go ahead and chase that. There she is, out in the distance there. And we will be able to secure this 4K. I don't think she'll be able to find a hatch over in the corner of the map upstairs. Not too likely. So, it is a 4K. We'll see if it's actually a Merciless or not, because, again, you want to get as many hooks as possible, and I feel like I really didn't get that many this game. I think we only got like 10 instead of like 12. We did keep the gens only to 2, though, by using that gen pressure of just shocking as many people as possible. Making sure our chases were short, making sure that they were really intentional of were we controlling the map and preventing people from actually working on any of their objectives. There's the Merciless Killer, so we got Adept. Hopefully you guys are able to take something away from this game by saying like, okay, it's about pressure, it's about tempo, it's about making sure that they don't get to do what they want to do, because they start off, they got those 3 gens really, really fast. But I applied a lot of stacks of the shock to them throughout the course of the game, as well as getting them on hook really, really often, and then making sure I was still in a chase as soon as I got somebody on hook by using Static Blast. That keeps 1 person on hook, 1 person getting chased, 1 person going for unhook. That means 1 person at most can be on a generator. That's going to make the gens move really, really slowly, especially if you're still shocking them over and over again. You're getting those overcharge hits from time to time to get some aggression. It's going to make it hard for them to progress as soon as you get to that tempo. And once 1 person's dead, it's even harder, you know, because you have one person who's on hook, one person who's getting chased, one person who's going for the unhook. Nobody's on gens, they don't get to progress. That's the type of mentality that I always go into a game with Doctor as, is how do I slow down the survivor rather than making myself do things really, really quickly. So a big problem that people have when they're going for Adept is they will end the game too fast. They don't get the chaser medal all the way up because they have too short of chases. Maybe they camp the hooks a little bit too much, so people die on a hook and you aren't able to get to the 9 or more hooks that you need to get this all the way up. And then you're also not getting your hook actions for the malicious one. So if you miss a couple of these, you're not going to get the double pip, you're not going to get the malicious grade, and you're not going to get the achievement. So make sure that you are taking your time with the game, but doing it in a way that you're slowing down the survivors so that the time that you're giving them by making sure that you're getting these emblems, they aren't taking advantage of it and actually escaping, because that is the worst thing that you could do, and that is the #1 thing that's going to make you lose the game, is if the survivors actually get out. Well, GG everybody. I do live stream this type of content as well on Twitch every Wednesday night, every Thursday, middle of the day, and Sunday in the middle of the day. If you want to come join and talk to me while I'm doing some educational commentaries for my viewers, I love doing that. I'll let you guys pick my killer, do some giveaways while I'm at it. And a bit of a weird request, but could you please dislike this video? I'm not saying that as reverse psychology, I literally mean it. Just go ahead, hit the dislike button. Obviously I want you to subscribe as well, and talk to me a little bit in the comments about what you think about what I could have done better, because there were definitely a lot of mistakes that I picked up on that I did wrong. If you guys can spot them, that would be really fun. But #1 thing, hit dislike. I don't want to see any likes on the video, I want dislikes. Thanks again, see you guys later.